as you guys had made your way to the town of Lonelywood after making your way over the most vicious waterfall that I've ever encountered. But you managed to make your way to Lonelywood, and you met the speaker of the town who's in charge, Speaker Nimsy Huddle, Huddle, and she had invited you guys over to stay the night at her house, since the town doesn't actually have an inn for anyone to stay in. She invited you to stay, with the caveat being her town has a little bit of a trouble right now. There's a giant moose that is terrorizing the forest, terrorizing the loggers and people that are going in the forest to gather food for the town. And she has hired you guys to go kill this moose, and she's offering a bounty of 100 gold pieces if you can kill it. But most all of you went and followed her to her house because she said she's going to make dinner for everyone. And I believe the only one who stayed behind in the Lucky Lyre, which is the tavern in Lonelywood, is Gurdian. And that is where we will start. So Gurdian, as everyone else, also left. It's getting a little later in the day. Let's say it's probably like 9 o'clock or something. The tavern is mostly emptied out. There's a few other people here, and of course, Danby the Bard is still playing. He's strumming on his harp and doing more stuff like he was doing before, creating illusions in the water. But that's where we begin.
Oh, I'm just remembering what I wanted to do. I am going to go and... we were told about a shop. I think, weren't we?
Yeah, that's correct. The town does have a shop called the Happy Scrimshander.
Yeah, I think I was going to go there.
Okay. As you head towards the door, you notice in the corner there is a tiefling male who's just kind of sitting there off in the shadows. But as you make your way to the door, he stands up and he makes a sound and he tries to get your attention. You, come over here.
Guardian's such a dense and socially inept individual. I'm gonna roll something.
Sure.
One is he'll just keep going. Two is he'll actually stop. Okay, he'll grab the door and open it and stop and look.
Yeah, and then, like I said, you see the tiefling. He looks a little worse for wear, actually. One of his horns is significantly chipped. He's missing part of an ear. He looks kind of grisly, has lots of scars on his face, but he's motioning you over to his table in the corner, which you notice is kind of tucked away from all the lights in the room, off in the shadows.
He'll just slowly let go of the door and then make his way over. Boop. Thump, thump. And he'll just stand there looking at him.
And the tiefling rises and he says, would you like a seat, my friend? If you can sit, that is.
I believe the chairs belong to the establishment.
Indeed. I heard you mention before that you're looking for a man named Tully. Is that correct?
Yes.
Just so happens I may have information regarding his whereabouts.
I lean in. Very close. Personal space invading.
He looks at you and he says,
share.
My friend, you are an interesting creature. I must say, though, this information comes at a price. You see, the gods did not give me your physical demeanor or the intellect of, kind of motions to the bard, of our friend there. No, indeed, I have to make my own fortune. So, as I've said, this information comes with a price.
What value?
It's an item, per se. Should be easy for one such as yourself to acquire.
He'll just stare.
The shopkeeper at the Happy Scrimshander, her name is Iskri. She has an item at the counter. You should find it very easily. It's a blackish gray rock. Not of interest to most people, but I desire it highly.
And
if you can
its
acquire
value?
it for me, I will give you this information that you need.
Very well. He'll just stand up, pull back, and start heading towards the door again.
And the man whose name is Rick, and he kind of leans back in his chair and watches you leave.
Yeah, I'll just head to the shop.
And while you're headed out towards the shop, we will cut to where everyone else in the party is, which I believe is Nimsy's house. So Nimsy's house, as the speaker of the town, you'd expect it to be a little more elaborate, but actually it's quite small. It's on 3 levels, and she's offered you guys accommodations up in her attic. But as you walk in, you see she's actually preparing a meal, and she's cooking some cookies. It looks like she's baking some cookies for everyone. But as you've walked in, there's also a young female halfling child who's running around, getting into things.
You have a beautiful home here. I appreciate the hospitality.
And Nimsy looks up and she says, "Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. It's always great to have guests, especially to Lonelywood." She looks to you, Laja. Are you perhaps from the mountain?
Oh, which mountain do you mean?
Oh, Kelvin's Cairn.
Can't say I am, but I it's nice to be here at least.
Oh, well, it's very good to have you. We seldom see dwarves who are from outside the Dale. After a moment. Oh, go ahead.
Quite a bit to head here. I'm from a bit further south, so this is a very interesting and unusual place to me.
Well, times are certainly tougher than they've ever been, but I think you won't find a more friendly place, at least in the Tin Towns, in my opinion.
I was worried when we came into town and there was no sort of inn or anything, but I'm very thankful that you all have been very hospitable to us. I'm not sure that that our task for you will be able to repay your kindness, but we'll do our best.
Thank you. It would be good to get rid of this trouble. It's a little embarrassing to talk about a giant moose killing people, but hopefully with the moose gone, we can resume our normal operations in the forest and start to maybe get things back to normal here, at least once the curse is lifted. I'm optimistic that won't last very much longer either.
Now, this moose, have you seen it yourself?
Oh, no, I don't typically travel into the forest. I am not much of a forester. From what I've been told, it's a little hard to find.
Well, we will make great efforts to find it. I've gone fishing and found that I do not like that. I have fallen off a waterfall and that was not enjoyable. I think getting back to hitting things with my axe will be a good change of pace.
Hunting might be the hobby that you might fall in love with, Rorgar.
We shall see, I hope so.
I feel like searching for a moose in the forest is going to be a little bit easier than a monster in a lake, so I'm not upset at this change.
Yes, those knucklehead trout were not fun.
And Nimsy laughs. Well, certainly many of our fishermen here have had a hard time with the knucklehead trout this year, but it's been helpful that not so many people are on the lake.
Was there something happening to people out on the lake, or a reason why they wouldn't be? Is there a real monster in this lake?
Well, down by Bremen, they certainly think there is. And, well, most of the people here don't travel that far south. They tend to stay in the waters here where there's less ice, and, the trout are easier to come by. There have been some that have said that there could be a monster, but This is the Dale after all.
Well, those cookies are, they smell delicious.
She says, "Oh yes, yes," and she reaches in her oven and pulls out this huge batch of cookies, and each of the cookies are cut to a shape of a tree. And she hands, she kind of offers the whole tray out to you guys.
I make sure this child that's running around doesn't get any because it seems like it's eaten way too much sugar already.
And as you turn, Virion, you actually notice the kid, the young halfling child. She was actually looking at maybe your bow that you probably had slung on your back. And she noticed, as you notice her, she kind of jumps back and she says, "Oh, sorry. I've never seen a bow that looks like that before."
This was handcrafted by my great grandfather and passed down from him to his son, and then finally to me, actually. So you probably never have seen anything like that.
Nimsy says, "Well, that's also interesting. We don't get too many elves in this part of Icewind Dale. Of course, there are all sorts of rumors about elves in the past, but we don't have too many that come here."
Our tribe especially has stuck deep within the forest for hunting purposes, keeping to ourselves type of thing, but it's been a bad winter for us, so I'm actually out here trying to do a little work to get my tribe back to the good standing it was before.
Well, of course, you're always welcome in the Tin Towns, at least for my part. Certainly welcome here in Lonelywood.
Thank you. It's much appreciated.
Yes, I question how welcoming the towns that sacrifice people is going to be, but at least here I feel somewhat welcome.
And as you mentioned the sacrifice, her whole demeanor kind of drops and her face lowers a little bit, and she says, This has been a hard time for everyone. We are fortunate here in Lonelywood that the food sacrifice seems to have been sufficient enough to appease Oro. Some of the other towns have not had it so well. Bremen is struggling significantly, and of course, Prince Shander and East Haven and Targos are the ones with human sacrifices. The speakers there are doing what they think is best, although I don't agree.
I I think they have acted rashly, but I believe Torm and Bahamut will smile upon the 10 towns soon, and you shall be free of this curse. Maybe Torm has sought to bring us here to help cure this disease.
I certainly hope so. Whatever the will of the Frost Maiden is, I hope she decides to be a little more merciful for the people here in the Tin Towns. It's been a very hard winter for sure.
Rogar will pick up one of the cookies and try it.
And she turns and
How
she says,
good is-
"Well, I'll
how
finish
good is
getting
the
dinner
cookie?"
prepared." She starts going back to the oven.
This is a nice treat. Thank you.
Indeed, it's certainly my pleasure to host guests whenever I can.
I wonder how Gordian is succeeding in his fact-finding mission.
And I think that gives us just the opportune time to jump to Gerdian. So Gerdian, you found your way into the Happy Scrimshander, which is the only town or the only shop in town. And the lights are still on, although they're a bit dim. And you notice most of the lights in the Tin Towns are starting to go out as I guess people are starting to go to sleep. But the outside of this shop has a giant sign that's shaped like a trout. And it actually, has the name carved in on it. And as you walk in, you can tell that this shop is probably just mostly catering people that fish in the lake or that are actually taking the bones off of the knucklehead trout and shaping them into tools or objects and such. So it's mostly things like that. But as you walk in, you see a human female behind the counter, and she looks up. She looks to be middle-aged, although she carries lots of lines on her face. Like she's probably native to Icewind Dale, and like the cold wind has kind of aged her a little bit. But she looks up as you enter, and she doesn't seem surprised by your appearance, which is new.
I'll just walk closer as I'm looking around, scanning the building.
She says softly, "Welcome to my shop, Outlander. Is there something I can help you with?"
I have two things I am looking for. First, a odd little stone requested by a tiefling with a broken horn. What is the price?
Her eyes dart over to a display box on her table, which is pretty close to her. And inside the box, there's like a glass top. You can see it. Inside, it's a black stone. It's a little shiny, a little reflective in some places. It does not look remarkable at all. But when you said it, her eyes darted to it and then darted back to you very quickly. And she says, "No, it is not for sale." You can tell that tiefling. There's no price that he can give me for this.
I am trying to give you a price.
It is not for sale. Do you understand?
Then why is it being displayed?
I don't need to explain myself to you.
I am in need of it, though. It's to help find a friend that's been kidnapped.
And she kind of shrugs a little bit and seems to regain her composure. She says, "I'm sorry for your friend, but as I've said, it is not for sale. Now, I'd be happy to help you with anything else." Do you
Do you have
consider
a
that
shield?
tiefling, is that tiefling a friend of yours?
No.
Good. In my experience, he is a liar and a thief.
Then perhaps do you know of an individual named Oliver?
I can't say that I do.
I'm thinking of the wrong character. Sorry.
I mean, Tali.
Yeah, Tally. I don't know.
That's
I don't
right.
know. He looks like an Oliver. Tally.
I am acquainted with that person.
He is the one that has kidnapped my friend.
Do you know where they have taken him, or he has taken them?
All we know is that he came to this town, or at least in this direction.
He came here before asking me about artifacts, particularly elven artifacts. I told him I have none of those. In fact, I have only seen a few elves in my lifetime. Don't know if that's any help or not.
When she mentions elves, he's just gonna slowly raise a hand and he's just gonna touch the side of his head. Like just muscle memory. And then he'll like look at his hand and then slowly lower it. Any idea where he could be?
God, Icewind Dale is a large place. He could be anywhere. If he's out in the wild, he's probably not alive.
The second thing I'm looking for is a shield.
Unfortunately, I have no equipment or weaponry here. I just have, and she motions around, I have tools here for the scrimshander trade.
Very well. Thank you.
And she kind of she raises, her head again as she can tell she's lost her interest. But you might try Torga's. Torga's a dwarf who travels around in a caravan of hers. She carries items like that, usually of the highest quality you can find. She makes her way through Lonelywood. It's probably going to be a while, but elsewhere in the 10 towns you're likely to find her.
Understood. Thank you. You just like look at her for a moment before he slowly starts making his way out.
And you notice as you turn to walk away, you kind of glance back. She's moved closer to that display case with the rock in it.
All right. I will head to the. So the weaponsmith isn't in town currently. The caravan.
Yeah, it's not. They're not in town.
There's no other weapon shop or anything like that, or armory?
There's not.
Alright, then I'll make my way towards the mayor's place, or the keeper?
The speaker, yeah.
Speaker.
You guys are in two. You have gone to two of probably the most remote of the 10 towns. So Bremen was the furthest west, and Lonelywood is actually the furthest north. So they're like the extremes of like seclusion for the 10 towns here. So as you get towards the larger towns like Bryn Shandor or even East Haven, you'll start to see more vendors and stuff here. But like this town doesn't even have, like as you've noticed, doesn't even have an inn for folks.
Yeah, I'll head to the speaker's place.
I think at this point you guys would have all enjoyed a meal from the speaker. Let's roll a dice and see the quality of that meal. Let's say on a 1, it's good. 2, it was terrible.
It's all poison.
Okay, so it's pretty good.
I like that it's either good or just awful. No in between.
No
no-
in between.
There's no average.
It's good or botulism.
Yeah.
But as you guys are finishing up, stepping to the door, I'm just going to put over here, 'cause it's a small map, is Guardian.
Ah, Guardian. We saved some cookies for you.
I do not eat.
Oh, I forgot. More for me.
He'll just stare.
How was your trip in town?
After you left the tavern, bar, whatever the establishment was called, a one-horned tiefling approached me. He wanted a stone from a shopkeeper. I went to acquire this stone. The shopkeeper said it was not for sale, and I should not trust this one-horned tiefling.
Nimsy, does this individual sound like someone you know?
You must be describing Rickon. He is a bit of a troublemaker here. I hate to label him as a thief, but there's really no much better word for him.
He might have information on Tally.
Nimsy kind of adjusts her glasses on her nose, and she says to you, Guardian, well, is there anything I can do to help?
The shopkeeper seemed protective of the display she had. I told her that she should not display it if she has no intention of selling it.
Yes, Iriskiri is... She's a bit of an odd one. She's had some hard times, but I can promise you she meant nothing by it.
I also
maybe-
found out.
Sorry, keep going.
I found out that there is a caravan that will have some weapons and tools and armor aboard. It might be somewhere in the forest.
Oh, you must be referring to Torgs. Torgs is a caravan that travels across the 10 towns. You probably wouldn't find them in the forest in Lonelywood, most likely in one of the towns by now. And she kind of looks and thinks in the air, and she says, I'd say around this time of year you could probably expect Torgs to be probably in Targos. Now, normally she would probably make her way to Bremen, but of course the bridge is out, so if I had to guess what that dwarf would do, she'd probably turn around and start her way back east.
Is she going to be near here soon, or do you just not know because that's not the way she usually goes?
She does keep a regular schedule. Now, I can't tell you exactly what day she would be here, but we wouldn't be the first stop. She normally makes a circle through the run to the 10 towns, and this would probably be her furthest north that she would travel.
That's good to know. I lost some stuff in the lake, so maybe once we cross paths, it might be good to see what she has.
A
Oh,
shield
dear.
and a warhammer, I believe.
Oh,
You had
dear.
to drop them because you were drowning.
Oh dear.
As I said, we had a fun time fishing for trout.
Well, I don't know about your experience or at least how you learn to fish, but in my experience, it's usually best to use a fishing line and not actually swim and try to catch them yourselves.
Oh, yes, we were not given any training.
They
I
were
have
much stronger than I expected them to be. I'll just say that much.
in a small town I looked after. When I did go fishing, I would simply walk into the ravine, punch a fish, and bring it back out.
Well, it's probably much too cold here for that, and she laughs.
Yes, disappointingly so.
But she says,
I
you
think-
know, and she looks to you, Elijah. She says, I might have something for you. And she goes towards the back of the room and starts like pushing some cabinet doors open and moving things aside. And after a moment of moving things around, she comes back and she has a warhammer and a shield.
Oh, are you sure that these aren't something that you need? I mean, uh, is there any way that we could repay you for this? You're already, keeping us under your roof and feeding us. It just feels like a lot for somebody to do for somebody else.
And she says, no, no, no. They belong to my late husband, and I'm no warrior. They would just sit here collecting dust. If you could use them, especially to help people and this town especially, I think that's a much better use for them. And Laja, what she's offering you is a warhammer and a small shield.
Beautiful. I'm adding it back to my sheet because I deleted it from my sheet.
They're nothing special except for the warhammer. You look on it, and both items are modest to low quality. Honestly, you could tell, especially as a dwarf, you can tell instantly their craftsmanship is not exceptional. You probably had much better equipment that you lost, but they'll suffice.
Honestly, they're just happy to, see something that is useful. Well, thank you very much. I don't know what to say. Other than I'll put them to good use tomorrow, hopefully to take care of this moose.
Yes, yes. Well, I would be remiss sending you into the forest, at least without a weapon. Now, as I've told you, some have had encounters with the moose that have been bad, but I would be lying to you if I told you the forest was completely safe. This is Icewind Dale after all. There are always dangers around every corner.
Yes, this is no surprise. We have had close encounters with Yeti, and we also had encounters with big dogs. So we are aware of possible danger, but the heads up is still appreciated.
And she says, well, if you take these stairs, and she points behind her, all the way up to the top, you'll find the accommodations that I've set up in the attic for you. And why don't I go see if I can track down Rickon and see if I can extract whatever information he might have.
And
That would be
maybe,
appreciated.
maybe after we slay this beast, we can return to the Happy Scream Shander you said it called, and maybe have better luck.
Indeed, you could certainly find goods there if you would like to partake in the fishing out here in Lonelywood. You might have more success than down by Bremen, of course. But like I said, if you can give me proof of the demise of the moose, I would happily reward you from the city treasury 100 gold pieces.
Mm.
That sounds more than reasonable.
Uh, Thank you for the meal and the accommodations, and tomorrow we shall slay your monster. And Morgar will climb the stairs.
So is everyone going to go for the night to the attic, or did anyone else have any plans?
And Garden will go up.
Yeah, Virion will go as well.
Yeah, I think a rest is in order after all of yesterday.
So throwing you guys here in this room, there's not much to describe. I mean, the attic is pretty simple. It looks like a mostly unfinished room, although there is still some warmth to be had here. Because she does have, fire burning at least downstairs. That's trickling up to you guys. But the base, the attic at least has been separated off into some primitive rooms, and she does have some bedding and stuff. But the accommodations are not spectacular. But if you guys like, you could take a long rest here, restore all of your hit points, anything like that if you'd like.
Yes, please.
By
Pretty much so.
exhaustion.
Yep, and that will clear your exhaustion, Guardian. You'd all be fresh to start. If you want to start, probably at first light would be somewhere around probably 9 in the morning here.
At the moment, my 6 hours are up of needing. I immediately just start heading downstairs.
Also, Virion is an elf. I think you don't sleep either.
Yeah, it's just a 4-hour trance. So as soon as I get that many hours, I'm gonna head downstairs and maybe poke around to see if I can start getting an early track on the moose, maybe.
Varian, I have a question for you.
Yep.
Do you have a hood on at all times, or are you not have a hood?
I didn't really think about it. I guess no hood. Robin Hoodless.
I want to do something that's okay.
Sure.
Little RP interaction. Because Guardian only needs 6 hours, so I figured he'd probably be the first one down, if everyone else needs 8. You know what, Josh? You're actually kind of right.
Oh, no.
Guardian's just gonna look at you for a second, and as you're just standing there, just taking in the morning, he's just gonna look at your ears and slowly reach out. Just give them the most gentlest stroke.
Virion does not do anything to stop this.
He just looks at you for a moment, and he looks at his hand. He's like, hmm. And he just slowly goes
took
back
Nimsy
into his
away.
normal standing.
I took Nimsy away. She's a wholesome halfling. She doesn't need to be here for this.
She explodes. But yeah, he's just gonna stroke your ear once, and he's just gonna go back to a normal standing position.
Virion will walk outside, and in his head will be like, "What the fuck was that about?"
That is the perfect response.
So Virion, you asked about tracking the moose. You immediately noticed that if you want to start tracking that, you're going to have to enter the forest. And
Okay.
the forest butts right up to the edge of town. So you just have to go outside of town and you actually start going in the forest yourself. But as you leave her house, you notice a lot of townsmen who have gotten up and started going to the boats on the lake, getting ready to start their fishing day.
Maybe if I still have some time before the others get up, I'll head down to the docks and maybe see if I can question anyone and see if they know of a good place to start or have an idea of where the moose would be rutting this season.
Let's go to this one. as you make your way towards the docks, Virion, you do see Marshall Haggard there, the ginormous Goliath that you guys encountered last time, and he notices you and kind of gives a nod.
I'll approach him. Morning, Marshall.
He looks at you. Good day.
You missed one heck of a slumber party. Thanks for not inviting us to your house last night. That was very kind.
He kind of raises an eyebrow. The generosity of the speaker is legendary.
Well, anyways, we can put that all in the past. I'm wondering if you have any idea where we might be able to do some moose hunting in the forest around here.
He says, well, you should enter the forest, I imagine. Look for the largest moose you can ever imagine, at least from the stories I've heard. I haven't encountered it myself, but the stories that the loggers are telling me is that if you make your way into the middle of the forest, the moose will find you.
In the middle of the forest? All right. I
That's what I'm
feel
told.
like that's a good place to start then. You might not be one for hospitality, but you're full of information, and that's why I appreciate you.
He looks at you and he says, I hope you know how to use that bow that you carry, because there are more than moose in the woods. Many people enter there and don't come back.
Maybe they just love the woods so much they picked up and wanted to live off grid, away from all the taxes these people have to pay in this town and all the blood sacrifices and food sacrifices. Could be a way around it.
He says, if any outsiders, he looks harshly at you, have a problem with the way we run things here in Lonelywood, I'd be happy to show them to the road.
Oh, no problem. Just offering a different opinion is all. Do you find a lot of people, whenever they go into the woods, don't make their way back here?
The people that tend to settle here in Lonelywood know how to handle themselves. There have been the occasional newcomers that try to venture out, chasing some sort of legend here or there, and we typically never see them again. Either the Dale gets them, or something in the forest. I don't know.
All right, well, it's a fair warning to be sure. I thank you for your honesty.
And he says, indeed, as I've said, I hope you do succeed. It would be nice to rid the town of that menace, but it's easy for newcomers to go missing in the forest. Just keep your wits about you.
Another piece of good advice. Thank you very much. No, Virion will start heading back to see if the others are awake and ready to go yet.
I think this is about the time everybody else is starting to wake up, but back in Nimsy's house, Gertie, and I imagine you probably stayed there after Virion left. Okay,
Just
stayed in
staying
the
next
house.
to the steps.
Questioning every decision he's ever made.
Okay.
No, his mind is just an empty tundra.
A few seconds after Virion left, Nimsy comes in, and she's actually coming from outside. She's not coming from upstairs. And she says, oh, hello, friend. Good morning.
Good morning.
I did manage to track down Rickon, and I might have some information for you.
Fortuitous.
With a little bit of persuasion of the money variety, I was able to get out of Rickon that he does seem to know your friend, Tali. Is that correct?
Correct.
Well, apparently your friend Tali is very interested about a tomb that he claims is in the forest. I've never heard of this tomb, but apparently Tali engaged Rickon to try to find directions, and, well, and she reaches into her pocket and she pulls out a map and she says, let me scribble down the directions, at least the chaotic directions that I got from Rickon. It might help you as you enter the forest. I can't vouch for the accuracy, but if you're going to be there anyway, maybe it'll give you some success.
If you could do me one small favor.
Of course.
Label it Tali's tomb. so the other party members may know what it means.
Oh dear.
Well, it is true. Tally is going to this tomb.
And she scribbles on the map and she hands it to you. And you can tell from the map, it is very crude, the directions that she got were just sort of like, head here, head there. There's really no sort of distance or even landmarks to help you get there. It seems quite random.
Thank you. Slowly fold them, the map, and fold it again and again and again. Put it away into a little pouch.
And at this point, I'm going to move Rorgar and Laja downstairs. And I think at the same time, in will come Varian.
Hey, does Rogar or Elijah have any head coverings?
Rorgar does not. None fit.
Nope.
So Rogar comes down. Garns is gonna put a hand on your head, and he's just gonna just like ever so gently move your head around just to see where your ears are at, and then sigh lightly and let go
We
of your
do
head.
have cold weather gear, so maybe you do have a hat?
I didn't hear that.
We do have cold weather gear, so maybe you do have a hat?
I don't know how Dragonborn have ears, but I am cold resistant, so I figure I'm not as affected by the cold. So I think Rorgar doesn't see the need for a hat. But he definitely will be slightly weirded out. He's something missing, friend.
Yes.
Well, let me know if you find it, and Rorgar will head outside.
And then he'll once he looks at Elijah. Does Elijah have any headgear?
I mean, not necessarily.
What type of ears does Elijah?
Normal dwarven ears?
Are they pointed? Or
No.
are they no? Okay. He'll just look at your ears and then go back to standing.
Is everything okay?
I do not know. I seem to be missing something.
Nimsy looks around and she says, is everything okay?
I do not know how to describe it. A faint feeling of joy. A soft smile. And a light chuckle.
Well, if you're looking for ears, what you don't want to do is walk off in the dale without any covering. We had an elder here who one time wandered off. Their family lost him, and when he came back, his ears had completely frozen off.
How unfortunate.
Indeed. She kind of shakes her head and she says, well, with that bit of useless information for you, I'm going to head to work. Of course, this town doesn't run itself. If there's anything you need, of course, let me know. I'll be out and about doing my rounds.
Absolutely. Hopefully, I guess we'll get going and see if we can track down that moose for you guys.
How exciting and happy hunting. And she enthusiastically heads out the door.
Virian, before we head out, do you want to stop for any supplies or anything? I don't know what you might necessarily need, but
I think Virion is all. You know what? Maybe if we're hunting, some more arrows wouldn't be a bad thing to pick up.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we will head back to the shop before we head out into town.
The only problem with the shop is she doesn't carry anything but just tools to work fish. She doesn't have any arrows.
Well, it was worth a try.
Unfortunately, she doesn't carry a lot here. It's
There was
definitely not
another
Amazon
store,
Prime in
wasn't there?
Lonelywood.
Called
But
like
she-
Frozen Far Expeditions or something.
Frozen Far Expeditions was recommended to you guys from the marshal to pick up some axe beaks, which is the mounts that you could
okay.
use in the snow. That's all the way in Caer Konig. That's a bit of a journey, but you guys could always, of course, go there. But as I've said before, as you get to larger towns, Caer Konig is also one. You will be able to find better goods and services and stuff here. It's pretty secluded, and there's just not much here.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Let's see. You said fishing related stuff, right?
Yeah, fishing goods.
Fishing net?
I'm sorry, what? Fish net?
Fishing net? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you could find net here. Yeah, she'd have netting.
Sweet.
I'd say like
Let's
fishing
see.
supplies, which we don't have to go to the shop unless you guys want to spend more time there. But she'd probably have any of like your normal like fishing line, like fishing nets and all that. She'd have that at the price that you'd see in the player's handbook.
We can let's get a bunch of fishing hooks and fishing lines. And because no matter how big someone is, the moment you get a fish hook in your cheek, you stop.
That could be one
Yep.
way to catch the moose is with a fishing net.
I mean, fishing didn't work for us last time, but it might work for us this time because we're on land.
Land fishing is what they call it.
I will catch it by smiting it with my warhammer and the blessing of Bahamut.
If it is a big moose, that's probably a huge or larger, and the net won't work on it. So I don't know if we are going to need to go to the shop, just because, like, yeah, net won't work on a large or bigger.
We can just we'll be able to get a piece of it, I think, if assuming we kill it.
Yeah. I think that given our history with trying to improvise items with the waterfall, might not work out great.
Yeah, we'll just
We
get
might-
its antlers.
Yeah.
So I found
I believe in us. What can go wrong?
I found the list of the pricing here. So you can buy fishing tackle for 4 gold. You can actually buy a fishing boat if you want to go on the lake and try again for 50 gold. Or you could rent one for 2 gold, which would be something you could do here in Lonelywood.
We rent a boat and then take it on land.
Rent a boat to hunt a moose in the forest. It sounds right, yeah.
We hire a bunch of dwarves to keep rolling logs in front of it.
All right, so you guys
Sea
are you
logs.
headed in the forest?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've just randomly tossed here you guys in this order, but that doesn't mean anything yet. But as you've walked in the forest, you notice that the forest here is green, even though it's still snowing heavily. As you've walked, the boughs of the trees have actually blocked some of the snow from getting to the ground, and there's actually areas of grass that you can see. The grass is frozen because it's still unbelievably cold, but this feels a little bit like somewhere else outside of Icewind Dale that you might have encountered before. So it feels a little more natural, especially for the rest of you. But as you step in the forest, you immediately notice how quiet it is. That you don't hear any birds or anything like that.
Oh, Virion.
Yeah.
Pull out the map. I found the future resting place of Tali.
That's ominous. Did you make this map? It's quite crudely drawn here.
No, the speaker had questioned an individual.
And
Just
they determined this is where Tully was going to die?
Yes, individuals did make that determination.
Oh, okay. And you think we might be able to meet up with our owl friend there?
Hopefully.
Okay. Um, if I'm looking at the map for a question for the GM, can I determine like if this would be somewhere in like the center of the forest, like where we're trying to go to?
It's leading you more towards the center. You don't have an exact location. You have a rough area, basically.
Okay. Guardian, from what I can tell, this might be in the area where we might find the moose, so this might be a good spot to start.
Excellent.
But Varian, if you want to start tracking this moose, if you can give me a wisdom survival check, and your Arctic feature does come into play here.
Perfect. So it'll be a +2 to whatever this is.
Could I possibly assist to give advantage?
Maybe you might want to do that.
Yeah.
But tell me how you're assisting.
Well, Garion is covered in twigs and leaves and other growing things, so he is used to being in nature for a long time. So maybe he's like offering suggestions like, no, that's not moose, that's bear. That's wolf. I don't
Yeah.
know what that is.
That makes sense. Also, I need to give you guys inspiration too. So yeah, I'd say you could assist him here. Sure.
So that would be a 14.
Nick, you should only have one, so let me take all this back.
Ah.
No, you gave it to her. You gave it to them. So
See, I tried to take my own to make it more convenient,
no take
Thank
back.
you.
and here we are.
So Varian, as you start with Guardian's help wandering around looking for tracks, you don't really find anything that looks like moose tracks. You see some smaller tracks like maybe a fox or something, but nothing. The moose you're looking for, like moose are huge anyway, but you've heard this is a substantially larger moose, but you don't see anything like that. And this is after an hour of searching.
Doesn't seem to be any tracks around here. Maybe we can try moving a little further into the forest and see if anything pops up for us over there.
Understood.
I should follow your lead.
All right. Let's see what we can find.
But yeah, you can do that again. Survival check, please.
$19 then.
So you think you found some tracks, and this could be what you're looking for. It's a large round track. Now, in your experience, this could be something like a bear, or other. It's probably like a bear or also a moose. You see something that could be what you're looking for, and you guys continue to follow. But after a while, it just leads you back into a circle, and then the tracks end. So you've really not made any progress at all finding the moose at this point because the tracks just go away.
So this led us in a great big circle, and I have been told by Marshall that if we head out into the center of the forest, the moose will likely find us before we find it. So there's a good chance that this is going in a circle because the moose is now stalking us. So if we reverse course on these tracks, there's a good chance we might come face to face with this moose.
Then shall we use the map?
That might not be a bad idea. Yeah.
We could try calling this moose. Anyone know how to make moose call?
Does anyone know moose code?
I feel like Varian giving his like wood elf Arctic sect would probably have some experience with some like using animal calls for hunting.
Yeah, I like that.
Same with Guardian.
How about this? Give me a wisdom survival check again. Your Arctic feature can apply, but I'll give you advantage here.
Oh, okay. 21.
That's a very good roll. You hear something off to the east. It sounds like it could be a reply.
I just imagine my assist as he's making the sound, but he's not getting enough air out quick enough, so I just kind of push his diaphragm in. I'm like, yeah, there we go.
Something like a.
I was hoping you would actually make what your moose sound is like.
Well, if Guardian's gonna squeeze one out of me, it's something like that. My chest caves in a little bit, and as I'm like trying to catch any type of breath back in, and drop to my knees, and go, I think I hear something responding.
Ah, good work, friend.
That was a proper mating call of a female moose. Good work.
Couldn't have done it without you.
But you notice, Virion, as you're heading in the direction of where that sound was coming from, you catch some tracks again, and this looks like it could be the size of a moose. And as you guys are making your way further and further into the forest, I'm going to put you here in the front, probably, Virion, right? Because you're leading the way.
Sure, yeah.
I'll be behind him. If he ever needs another squeeze.
Again, you're following the tracks. It looks like a very large animal. And then you make your way around a tree, and directly in front of you is a very large brown bear. And the bear looks up at you, and you notice immediately, Virion, the signs. This is a very skinny brown bear. It's obviously starved. That's the worst kind of bear, because instead of running away from the noise that you guys have been making, and that moose call, dying moose call, whatever it was, would normally make the bear run away. But in this case, he looks at the four of you, and he sees a meal. And with that, let's go to initiative.
Ooh.
Whoa!
Okay, Guardian.
Oh. God dang it.
I think I
Hey, we
was
got two
5.
21s.
I think I was 5 last
We're
time.
doing good. We're ready.
Sorry, mine didn't register there.
It's all
I
right, I'll
don't think
just-
I had noticed that your character's last name was Smith until now. That's a
It's
quality name.
It's yeah, it's a long line of Criminal Smiths.
So Laja and Guardian, I'm going to say Laja first. Ladies first. So it's Laja, Guardian, the bear, Wargar, and Virion, who is actually in the front, is the most unaware.
Perfect.
But Laja, yeah, you see this bear, and it roars and starts charging towards you. You being you
But then I'm
collectively.
going first because I was going to cast Bless on everybody else.
Yay!
And
Nope.
I'm going to stay in the back over here, away from the bear.
Okay. And the light of Lathander blesses all of you. Let's see what Guardian does with that blessing.
Let me go toss on. Where is it? Yeah, there it is. Enabled? There you go. Okay. I'm going to, of course, charge at the thing, or I'm going to rush at it with my maul out, and I'm going to be raging as my bonus action. So my fun little soft glowing blue lights turn red as I am just booking towards it. It's like like one of those old locomotives. That's when he starts running.
Since he's a Warforged, would he technically be raging against the machine?
Yes. Yes, he would.
Thanks. I had to try.
And let's see. Normal, advantage. Okay, there's normal. Just normal. Yeah.
That is definitely a hit.
8 damage.
So
Out of
you-
all the other times, though, that Guardian has raged, he's been very quiet. This is the first time he roars back at the bear.
Virion will start rubbing his own ears.
your maul hits the side of the bear and it looks at you and roars back at you. And I think since it's next to you, it will see you as a primary target and it will take an attack. So it first makes a bite at you, Gordian, as you've come very close. How's a 12?
I think a 12 is a no.
And
Yeah,
then he
no.
pulls back with his claws and swipes at you. How's a 17?
Yes.
That's 11 slashing damage.
So that's rounded down to halved.
Cool.
So 5.
And then we move on to you, Rorgar.
Rorgar will follow the lead of his barbarian friend. 5, 10, 15, 20. I'll go to right here. And Rorgar will swing with his battle axe.
I think you want to roll more than a d4 there. Unfortunately, a 9 will miss.
That's a 13. Probably still a miss, but
No, 13 will hit.
oh, sweet. Yeah, I don't know how to add the d4 in for bless.
Oh, that's right.
I'll show you
bless.
how to do it after.
Okay. And then
13 will hit. Oh, 13 damage. That's a good hit.
no, I think that's good.
That's a deadly swipe on the side of the bear, who is badly injured but still continues to fight, almost like maddened, like a crazed look in its eyes. But we move on to you, Virion.
Okay. I guess Virion is just gonna knock an arrow and try and take a shot. Sorry, and then I'll have to roll my d4 after as well. Only a 10.
Unfortunately, I think you rolled a 1, which I believe is always a miss.
Oh, yes, that's right.
He's going to shoot one of us.
So the arrow goes flying off into the woods, unfortunately. I'd say maybe the wind picks it up and you missed your shot.
All right.
But moving us back to Laja.
I'm going to cast Sacred Flame on it. That damage roll.
Nice.
I won't be mad if it makes a save.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
Hey, 1 damage, guys.
No.
Oh, this poor bear. Maybe some of its fur sparks a little bit. But it doesn't notice you at all still, Laja.
That's fine. I'll move up a little bit. Just to make sure that I'm still pretty close to the rest.
I think that takes us back to you, Guardian.
Oh, I'm going to swing at it again. How long does blessing last?
A minute.
Okay, so I'm still blessed.
And that's a hit. Ooh. And with a downward swipe on the head of the bear, it collapses dead. Poor bear.
Was this our moose target?
No.
Oh,
Unfortunately not.
well. Now I feel a little regretful.
But this did go much better than our fishing expedition did.
It
Ah.
did.
A nice positive spin.
This is anything but positive. The bear was starving.
Yes, you're correct.
despite the killing blow and everything, that their guardians are gonna kneel down and he's just gonna like make sure it's eyes are closed and he's just gonna pet it softly.
Guardian, what you can tell is this is, bears typically hibernate in the winter and they typically fatten themselves up. And, you typically don't see them much at all in the winter, especially a black bear like this was. Like a polar bear or something in cold conditions, you would see them. But you would not expect this bear to be running around, and you definitely would not expect the bear to be starving. That happens sometimes, but it's more rare. And you're starting to realize you've heard about the curse already and how it's affected this region. But you can tell it's put nature out of balance quite a bit.
They did not deserve to die, not like this. Proud creatures.
If it will ease your mind, I can say a word to Bahamut and Torm to make sure this creature makes it to the other side.
He'll just look at you for a second as he gets up. Do not waste your breath. If the gods were benevolent, this would not have happened in the first place.
Well, then I will say a prayer for us and our safety. And Rogar will do a quick he'll say a few words under his breath and make some gestures that a holy man would make.
Virion leans in to hear the words that Rorgar speaks.
As we all want to hear.
Wow, that was I've never fought a bear before. That was a interesting encounter, and I did pretty good there, eh? And when he says "eh," he looks up, kind of as if he's expecting someone to be looking down on him. See
Giant
ya.
claw comes out and pats you on the head out of the sky.
Well, friends, do we still have the track on these killer moose?
While everybody was paying attention to the bear, I wanted to keep an eye out so we don't get attacked by a moose while we're waiting. Just in case it's actually here and the bear was a red herring.
It's at this
Or
moment. It's at this moment,
trout.
watch it directly beneath you. I'm just kidding. There's nothing.
No,
You don't see a moose.
The
Ah,
just
antlers
had to
are-
make sure.
The antlers are soaring through the snow.
Yeah. Or maybe we
Suddenly.
just need to throw somebody to get its attention.
I
The tra-
mean, it can only work so many times.
the tracks are still there, leading further into the forest. You could tell it's probably not bear tracks because they're shaped a little differently, and these tracks don't seem as fresh, but they do diverge from where the bear was.
Before we continue forward, I'll pat Gurdian on the shoulder and said, you fought very well, friend. The blessing of Torm is upon you, and I will heal him for 5 points
Ooh,
with lay on hands.
back to full. As everyone's getting prepared to move on, I am going to pull out the little knife I got, and I'm going to gut the bear. So it's easier for any other animals to smell.
Unlike the crycats that you've done this before too, this bear doesn't have much meat on it at all. It's kind of a mangy animal. Even the fur isn't very good.
Yeah. It just gives anything out there a chance.
Sure. But it's probably about, by the records I've been taking, it's about 12 o'clock, and you guys know, but by 2 o'clock the sun goes down. You've been operating in dim light, but after 2 o'clock it's pretty much total darkness.
Well, we should try and pick up the track again on this moose just in case it has some kind of night vision and can take us out easier if it gets dark quickly.
It's Sam Fisher. It has the 3 optical night vision goggles.
We have no way of knowing if this moose is a splinter cell or not, is all I'm saying.
A
You
Splinter
know, we
Cell.
done goofed when we hear the turning on sound of the goggles. Like, oh shit!
I think I'll give you an extra inspiration for Splinter Cell. That's good.
Very kind.
But I can imagine you guys are going to continue following the tracks, or did you have more to do out here?
Follow the tracks.
Did you guys continue deeper into the forest? It gets darker and darker, even though the sun hasn't been blocked or hasn't, started to set. Just moving to the forest, the trees get thicker, closer together. And we move you to... In case you didn't find where we were, you guys are all the way in the top right corner of the map there.
Oh.
The tracks lead to a large circular indention in a snowy hillside, and rising from the middle is a circle. Of the circles, it's a triangle gnomon, which is a little hard to describe, but it's a carved crystal that stands about 20 feet tall. And there's a 10-foot high berm hugging the circle's eastern edge, and there's evergreens growing around it and on top of it. And there's sheltering what looks like a sarcophagus buried under the snow, and that's also enclosed by a half circle of pale blue crystal pillars. Now, north of the berm, there is a gazebo made of marble, and south of the berm is a row of outward-facing white marble statues that are top granite pillars.
That's cool.
Guardian, does this seem like, according to your map, maybe where the tomb of Tully might be?
One can hope. I pull up the map.
The directions for the map are very vague, but this could be where you are supposed to be.
So those pillars and stuff like that, are there any other things standing out? Like statues, writings, glyphs?
You'd have to get a little bit closer to examine it. You are quite far away. The marble statues that are on the pillars are these things down here.
Okay.
So the gazebo I mentioned before is right here. There's a sarcophagus here. And the steps that lead up to this giant crystal structure are what are right in front of you.
Boop. No one's stopping me, so I'm just gonna keep going.
How tall is this?
It goes up about 5 to 10 feet. It's kind of up on a hill. So as you go further up it'll be higher. But where Gurdian is right now, because there's steps, it's probably starts off just a few feet where he is. And if he keeps going up, I'd say at this point it's probably like 10 feet.
I'll just stay a few feet behind Gurdian as he goes forward.
Now, Gurdian,
Yeah, I was going to say I want us to stick together, please.
Yeah.
Gurdian, as you make your way forward, you see Ollie in a tree.
Ollie.
Immediately as you see Ollie, you also notice in front of Ollie is a corpse.
Good job, Ollie.
Ollie was the big bad all along.
Virion knocks an arrow.
I swear allegiance to Ollie.
Ollie does the owl thing where he kind of moves his head in a circular motion as you approach. He just kind of stretches his feathers out. But there is a bloody corpse in front of Ollie. From where you're standing, Gurdian, you'd have to get closer to inspect it because it is a mangled corpse.
Doop, doop, doop. Hey, I was right. It is Tully's tomb. Is
So-
Ollie doing anything? Like just looking at us?
Ollie's looking at you guys as you approach. I'm not paying any attention really to the corpse that's there. And as you've gotten closer, all of you can see that the corpse was probably eviscerated by something.
I attempt to find a head.
You see the head, like it's a pile of corpse, but the head is still attached.
Is-
Friendly bird, have you seen any killer moose in area?
Ollie looks at you as you've all approached, and she says, hello. Good to see you again. Yes, I did see a giant moose. It lives here with a very grumpy druid. She did this to this guy. Can't say I was sad to see him go, but she's quite vicious.
I assume this was Tally.
Yes, I believe that's what he's called. Or
And he
was
shoved
called.
you in a box.
Yes, he thought that I was one of those awakened creatures that he's been trying to find more about. He kept asking me if this was where it happened. I didn't know what he was saying. I told him as much, but he wouldn't take no for an answer. And he brought us here. He let me out. I flew on this tree, and then that's when he encountered the very unhappy druid lady who did this and left him.
I do not feel sympathy for his death. He kidnapped a friend.
It's good to see you safe, at least.
And Ellie says, "Oh, thank you. I remained here. Well, this happened not maybe an hour ago. I stayed here thinking I would wait until they left. They are still here, though."
Does this druid, you say, does this druid control the moose? Tell it to harass the town?
I don't know. I didn't really have time to interview them. It was mostly
Ah.
fleeing for my life.
Well, let's have a friendly conversation with this druid. Do you know this druid's name?
Well, I believe Tolly said, don't kill me. Maybe that's their name.
Ollie, if you would be so nice, fly away. There's a town not too far from here. We will meet you there.
Ollie says, yes, that sounds like a great idea. And then she takes wing and flies west.
As I'm holding what is ever left of that head, Guardian does not like what he sees. In a sense that he doesn't like Tally. He's just gonna...
Does he pet Tally's ears?
No, he's just gonna clap his hands together on that head. Just kind of make the face disappear.
Right in front of you, Guardian, like you're standing right beside this thing, and there's a large sarcophagus. And the sarcophagus, there are 5 crystal pillars that almost like surrounded it in like a semicircle.
Any writings on the sarcophagus or the pillars?
There is an emblem. If you can give me a knowledge religion check, please.
Or is it a language I recognize?
It's not a language, it's a symbol that you might recognize.
Alright. What was the check again, sorry? Intelligence?
It's a religion check.
Oh, religion. Oh.
Hey. This is the symbol of Seluna, the goddess of the moon.
If he could blink his eyes, he'd blink one after the other. What would he know about this goddess?
Well, she's pretty much a good goddess. She's worshipped by all sorts of folks. She's a goddess of knowledge. Light is also one of her domains. Typically good, deity, not evil.
I would like to use divine sense.
Okay. Remind me again, divine sense just tells you if there is a celestial or a fiend in the area?
Celestial fiend are undead within 60 feet.
No, you
Okay.
detect nothing.
I guess I'll move forward to closer to the edge of this here and just look down at the symbols and everything.
So rising from the center of the circular depression, which is right ahead of you, Wargar, is a tall triangular crystal. It's a device one typically finds in the middle of a sundial. So it's thick near the base and narrows to a sharp point at the top. And now the snow around this, which is this whole device is called a gnomon. It's melted away, is revealing a circle of symbols carved into the stone around it. And the symbols look like phases of the moon, which suggests this whole thing is actually not a sundial, but it's a moon dial.
Is there anything around the sarcophagus besides the pillars and the corpse? Like fresh blood splatters?
The blood from Tali is pretty well in the area around you, yeah.
Is the snow disturbed? Like it's been shuffled around and moved?
There are a lot of tracks around here, and there are so many in such a area that maybe someone like Virian could figure them out, but from you at first glance, you can't tell, you can't tell individuals from this group. They're kind of all in an area.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm gonna try and open the sarcophagus because no one's telling me otherwise.
I think if Rorgar sees that, he might. Friend, I think we should let the dead rest.
Very well.
Counterpoint, sometimes corpses have cool stuff that they're buried with.
That is true, but it is not for us to take. And I think Rorgar will then look forward and he'll actually kind of like slide down here and move closer to the sundial, trying to get a better look at it.
See, I was going to ask if there was a good way to get down that wasn't just sliding down like you're 8 years old, but Rorgar makes those decisions, I suppose.
Wargar is a hero. He can do this sort of thing, just like the rest of you. It's easy to slide down this bit of snow without any trouble.
If I have to, I'll use my shield to sled down.
I just love the image of that. Can you do that anyway, even if you don't need to?
Yes.
Thank you.
So what you guys do notice is that there's snow everywhere, of course, but the snow around these symbols has been evaporated away because there's a small amount of heat that's rising from each of these engravings. And it looks like right now the snow dial is pointing to the accurate point of the moon. It's like the moon is, the new moon wasn't too long ago, which is also one of the sacrifices that you've heard mentioned about are recent, but you're now in that quarter moon phase.
I want to start walking around the perimeter, I suppose, and see if there is like any evidence of anybody else being in this area where the moon dial is, at least recently.
I think from your location, let me describe everything that you can see, Laja. You can see before you slid down here, the row of statues that are to the south, and that's that way. You can kind of see around the corner something that looks like a door, and you can't quite see it yet, but I'll go ahead and tell you. There is a point here where, so the way this works is to the west here, this whole dial is like set on the side of a cliff or set on the side of a hill. And so this area that's missing is basically someone has broken into the hillside and made like a little hole. The side that you guys came from was the not hillside, if that makes sense. But someone has made like an entrance into the hill here to the west.
Are all these statues identical?
You'd have to examine them to tell. You're kind of far away.
I'll move closer to the one that's north here, and I'll I'll kind of examine it.
So the statues are all kind of worn away. It looks as though the wind, they look, first of all, very old. It looks as though the wind has probably worn them down. But what you can make out are pointed ears on the statue. It's kind of the only thing left of detail that you can see.
I'll share that with everyone. It appears whoever built this moon dial, may have been elvish. At least going by this statue.
Virion will walk over there and inspect it to see if he notices anything suspicious or something that jogs his memory.
It's really so much of the same. Unfortunately, the statues have worn down to the point to where there's just not much left. Their faces have really been worn away. But you identify that they look like they're life size, and that the cylinders that they're stamped on are about 7 feet tall, so they're kind of high.
They're very old.
Well, Gerdian moving his token has kind of revealed something on the map, but I was gonna do this, so I'm gonna stick to it. I'm gonna move close to this where it's broken and try to get a look inside.
Before we get started with that,
Okay.
Elijah, if you could roll a religion
I'll
check
move you
for me.
back for now.
No, that's okay. You can go ahead and move that. I just wanted to, before, like maybe while that's happening, I wanted to see if
Yeah.
Elijah could glean something from what she's looking at.
The answer is no.
She's yeah, this is a neat moon dial. How about that?
Interesting.
Wargar, as you make your way to the opening in the cliff here.
I just wanted to do something. As he's moving away, if possible.
Yeah, sure. What's that?
Guard's gonna look at the statues, and given its age and Guardian's age, does he recognize anything about it?
The elves that you can, there's really not a lot of detail left, but they look like they might be moon elves. And that's all that you'll get to see before we move into this next phase, because Rorgar walked towards the opening. Rorgar, as you walk towards the opening, you can see into this area, and it looks sort of like a barrow. It's a chamber that's tucked under the hill, and you see inside this barrow there's all sorts of bones and like small animals that are sleeping, but that doesn't really, your attention doesn't focus on any of those very long. Immediately, what you catch a glimpse of is a very large moose, the largest moose that you've perhaps ever seen. And let me show you guys what this looks like. So this moose has white fur, but your attention doesn't look at the white fur very much. What you notice is all the blood that's stained on this moose. So around his mouth, it's stained red with blood, and his antlers are also stained red, and his feet. And he looks at you and he kind of snarls. But we immediately... Go ahead.
I'll say, hello, friend. I do not mean to disturb your rest. As I slowly back away.
And he doesn't really seem to be too interested in that because he charges you. Let me clear this, and we immediately go into initiative, please.
Oh,
Rorgar is just not on his toes today.
Not his day.
I think that puts it to Laja. Unless, yep. So it's Laja first.
I can hear the moose, right? Yeah.
You can hear it like snorting and stuff. I don't think you can see it yet, but you hear something inside this cave.
I can hear something in the cave. So
Yeah.
I'm going to move towards the cave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, no. 5. And that's as far as I can move. I will wait for the moose to come out, and if the moose passes by me, I'm going to whack it with my warhammer.
Okay, sounds good. Like Guardian.
It's okay, I can get there. Um, or, I'll go here for now. I will. I'm not gonna rage just because I don't have enough to get to it, and I don't want my rage disappearing after I trigger it. So, I'm going to ready just a mauled strike if it gets in range.
Okay. I think that takes us to Virion.
I'll be right back.
Virian's gonna knock an arrow as soon as he starts seeing the moose making some noise, or hearing the moose start making some noise, and as it starts running towards Rorgar, he's gonna take a shot at the moose.
I'm
A
looking-
24 to hit?
Yeah, that'll hit. I was looking at you do definitely have line of sight.
Yeah.
A 24 most certainly hits. 7, okay.
Nice.
Your arrow sinks into the shoulder of the moose. Are you going to move any, or is that it?
I'm gonna stay up top for now, just to see, stay out of the moose's way.
Back.
Yeah, that'll be it for my turn.
So moving to the moose. So the moose, because it saw you first, Wargar, it's going to charge you. Because it could be killed by your attacks. Let's do them first. So Laja and Guardian, if you can go and do your held attacks first.
And we're not blessed.
You're not
Nope,
blessed
just
anymore.
normal.
So that is a hit for Laja and not a hit for Guardian. 5, okay.
Guardian is just like, it's a beautiful moose.
Oh my, what a beautiful moose. But the moose, as it charges, it takes the hit from you, Laja, but it lowers its antlers down and it tries to gore you, Wargar.
I love it.
How's a 20?
20 hits.
All right, so it does 9 piercing damage, an additional 9 bludgeoning damage from the charge, and you need to succeed on a strength check for me or be knocked prone.
I'll use my inspiration to reroll that.
Good call. Oh dear.
Oh,
It just
no.
knocks you prone, but unfortunately, as you've been knocked down, it makes a smash with its hooves. It jumps up in the air and tries to smash you. For 8, which I imagine does not work.
Oh, no.
Okay, so you managed to roll out of the way just in time as the antler comes down right where your head would have been.
That's with advantage, right?
Yeah, I rolled terribly. Yeah. I rolled an 8 and a 7, so.
Ow! That was quite painful, Moose.
That takes us to you, Rogar.
I'll stand up. And as much as I want to heal, kind of want to just give it right back to him. So I will, I'm going to swing away with my battle axe.
And I don't know if this influences you in any way, and it's not necessarily meant to, but the shot that Varian took and hit it was a pretty good shot, and it just sort of winged the moose. It is not very injured by it.
I'm still going to do it.
Okay.
I'm just looking at if I want to cast a certain thing first. I will use a bonus action to cast Thunderous Smite,
Okay.
which means the next time I hit within the next minute, I'll use that as concentration. The next time I hit within the next minute, I do some stuff.
Sounds good. And that'll hit.
All right, so the battle axe damage is 12. And then let me just. So I do an extra 2d6 thunder damage, and then it must make a strength saving throw, or it will be pushed back 10 feet and knocked prone.
Okay.
So the damage extra right there.
Rolled a 24.
just barely stays on its feet, right?
Yeah.
I was close.
But 6 additional damage. Okay.
Yeah. So 18 damage total on that attack.
You guys have severely wounded this thing at this point. That was a pretty solid hit there, Orgar.
I get to do that twice. 2 spell slots. So, but I think that's it. I won't. I'm not going to move away. And in fact, Rorgar probably says out loud, don't mind me. I'm, and the blood comes out. I'm totally fine.
And that takes us to you, Laja.
I'm sorry, Rorgar. I'm going to heal you afterwards. I'm going to try to hit it. Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's so
I thought that was
sad.
I thought that was your damage roll at first. Yeah, sorry, that's not gonna work.
No, it was not. I wish.
So the giant moose
I'll
that's
stay
in front
here.
of you, the white moose stained with blood, is apparently a very difficult target to hit, and you just swish the air in front of it, Laja.
I mean, granted, it just got hit by a lot of damage. It's probably like rearing back or something in
You know-
pain.
maybe it was the thunderous smite. It's very loud and it distracted you. We'll say that. That's what happened.
Okay, I accept that.
But it takes us to Gertie.
That is a fair point. Everyone within 300 feet heard that thunderous smite.
Welcome to 2 encounters merged into 1. Yeah, I'm going to swing at it with my maul. I'm going to rage as a bonus action.
Okay.
And I'm going to recklessly attack it, which gives me advantage.
Nice.
Okay.
22.
Ooh.
22 will do.
11.
That's a good solid hit. Yeah, so you smash the moose with your, it's a maul, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the moose kind of recoils a minute, but it's still standing, and that moves us to Virion.
Viren's just gonna notch another arrow and do his best to try and hit this moose again.
Unfortunately, that does not hit.
The thunder was too much, Rorgar.
Your shot goes wide and lands, maybe it hits the hillside or something. But moving on to the moose, he looks at you, Wargar, having done that terrific hit to him, and he attacks you with his antlers. He lowers his head down and he tries to hit you. How's a
right.
9?
9 does not hit.
And then he kind of leans back again and tries to hit you with his front hooves with a 14.
Nope.
Okay, so he misses
18.
you. In the background, Laja, you hear someone. that you can't see because this is kind of like back in the cave. You hear them saying words that you can recognize as a magical spell of some kind. All of a sudden, appearing directly behind you guys,
Nothing
magically
personal,
out of
kid.
thin air, is a polar bear. And the polar bear, let's see, the polar bear, he makes a move and he jumps up the hill here and attacks you, Virion.
Perfect.
First, he clamps at you with his teeth. That's a 12.
That will not hit.
Okay, and then he makes a swipe at you with his claws, so a 26.
Yeah, that just hits.
Unfortunately, that is 12 damage.
Ooh.
Oh.
Okay. Okay.
You hear someone, like this person that you cannot see yet, they say, "The 10 towns will be destroyed, if not by my hand, then by the Frost Maidens." But that moves us to you,
And this
Rogar.
is further in the cave, right?
Yeah, this is further in the cave, behind the moose, where you cannot see.
Okay.
Rorgar's got his shield up above his head. He's trying to keep the moose from stomping on him, and he'll just quickly lower and one hand the battle axe down on attempting to hit it right between the eyes.
That'll definitely do it.
I'll just roll damage.
Another solid hit. The moose kind of staggers from that blow. It's still not giving up, but it looks very wounded.
Uh,
Sorry, I thought you were done. Did you want to do anything else?
that'll be it for me.
So
I'm
moving
just
on.
seeing what my my other bonus action spells are, and nope, nothing that I want to do right now.
So taking us to Laja.
On Virion, I'm gonna cast Healing Word as my bonus action.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then I'm gonna use my action to attack the moose in front of me.
Okay. That's not going to happen. Sorry. It's very close,
Cannot
though.
hit this moose. This moose, terrible.
The AC of the moose, I will share this with you, is an 11. So you're very close.
You were used to your Warhammer, and this is a new Warhammer.
It is. It's not a very nice Warhammer, you know.
That takes
The
us
weight
to
is weird.
takes us to you,
Recklessly
Gerdian.
ball.
And I think, Gerdian, you actually get the first view of this person just behind the awakened moose. And I'll describe it for everyone. You see a figure.
Oh yeah.
It is a probably human female, though you can't really tell so much about her. She has long, unkept hair. She's wearing the furs of some sort of animal with, decorated horns and such. She's carrying some weapons that are bluish. They look kind of like ice. And she's wearing an assortment of strange furs that look to be crudely cut that match her. And she's standing in the back, kind of down at the bottom of a staircase that comes up from somewhere.
Very well. I will recklessly attack this moose.
Okay. A 16 will work. Yeah, and that hit. The moose staggers from that blow, but continues to stay on its feet. think that's it. That'll move us on to Virion. You have a giant polar bear in your face. I think you're muted, Virion, if you're talking to us.
For sure. Yep. Good. Good. So to start, I'm going to cast Hunter's Mark on the polar bear, or as my bonus action.
Okay.
At level 1, so that'll give me an extra d6 of damage if I can hit it. And I'm going to pull out my short sword because it's right up in my face here, and take a big ol' swing at it. A 20 to hit?
The Hunter's Mark, I've just got it represented as a snail. Yep, that 20 will work for sure.
So 6
6.
plus d6. That extra one, that'll help.
It's a good blow on the polar bear, but it's not too injured from your attack.
And I'm not sure if the others know, so I'll just shout out to everybody. I'm dealing with a polar bear as well over here.
Ah, is it friendly?
No, it's not friendly.
Too early to tell, I guess.
I suggest moving to a different position.
I believe that moves us back to the moose. The moose is going to continue to attack you, Wargar. First with its antlers. How's an 18?
My AC is 18.
And unfortunately, it does 9 damage from that attack.
No.
Down to 0.
And then it will turn on... I think it will turn on you, Guardian, as the next threat and attack you with its hooves. How's a
Okay.
9?
Did you roll advantage? Because I reckless attacked,
Oh.
I grant advantage.
Oh, darn. Okay. Well, the other roll that I had there was a 26, so I imagine that will hit for
Yep.
9 bludgeoning damage.
8-4. Okay.
And that's all the moose is going to do. However, just a moment, the figure in the background.
Do I have partial cover because of the large moose?
I think you probably do.
Disadvantage on range attacks. But then it's advantage because, well, no, it's advantage because I'm granting to that creature. No, it's advantage on just attack rolls. So yeah, whatever's attacking me can also get advantage.
So you hear the person off in the distance, the lady, she casts a spell. And as she casts the spell, some of the wounds on the moose close up and heal, leaving only its blood behind.
That's cheating.
Sorry, guys. This is a difficult encounter. I'm sorry.
Every encounter is a different encounter.
Rorkar, I think I need you to make a death save here. Oh no,
No.
that is one failure.
Hey, could have been worse.
Yeah. Double failure.
I'm just napping. It's fine.
And moving on to Laja.
This ground's nice and cool.
Well, you guys know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna heal Rorgar for the smallest amount of HP in the world.
Hey, it's still appreciated.
And I'm gonna hit it.
Hey, that works.
There you go.
I love this. With your hit, Laja, The moose staggers a bit and falls over dead.
Yes.
Finally.
She was saving it up for that one blow.
Can we just reverse the order of that happening, just so Rorgar wakes up and the moose is already dead?
Yes. We
No,
know that.
I like him seeing it die. He's like, oh.
With the moose out of the way, can I see the druid?
Yeah, I think you can. I think you
Okay.
have line of sight. It's still mostly obscuring your view. You don't have a great, angle to see it, but you can see the woman standing there at the entrance to this hallway.
Oh, there she is. I just had it zoomed in too far.
I think I asked this before, but does charge do anything extra?
Let me see. I don't know if it does.
I don't think so.
Because I know in 4E I can. Let's see.
I think it's I think you could take a feat where it does something, and I think like it's I think that moose probably had a charge attack.
Because I know like in 4E I could do like I could move and then I could charge, which was more movement, but it was still an attack. I just don't know
Yeah,
how
I
it
don't.
is in 5E.
I'm fairly certain that's not a thing in 5e.
I don't think there was a charge action.
Okay.
You can make that extra speed movement by dropping your normal action and just moving twice, but that's about it.
Oh, the thing with rage is I need to be attacking to maintain.
You could attack Rorgar right beside you.
I am prone, easy to hit.
I'm. Can I punch myself?
No.
Damn.
I don't think we're gonna get into that kind of rage.
I think it also stays up if you get attacked.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like this is my turn, so what I do now. I'm gonna try and read it here. Hey, rage, rage instantly if you're knocks conscious, or if you end your turn and have an attack the hostile creature since your last turn. You know what? Okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm going to 1, 2. I'm assuming the moose is difficult terrain.
I think that's fair. Yeah, just to get past him.
3, 4. Okay. Whoop. I'm going to throw a javelin at that individual.
Her name is Ravison. You guys don't know that yet, but that's her name.
Let's see. Melee attacks. Okay, so that's just for. So it won't be a reckless. So it'll be a normal javelin throw, but since I'm making an attack, my rage maintains.
Okay.
Doesn't matter if I miss, as long as I'm making the attack.
You did miss, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. My rage maintains. And that's my turn.
I think that moves us on to Virion.
Virian's just gonna try his best to fight off this angry polar bear here with his short sword.
That will hit.
Perfect. And a 6 plus a d6. It's another 8 damage.
You are making an impact here on the polar bear. It jumps back after your last attack, giving you a little more hesitation as it moves in.
I'd like to shout to remind everybody. Now that the moose is dead, maybe some help would be okay.
I just love how the ranger is staying next to immediately on the bear.
I don't know where else to go.
You got this. You're
He's doing a
fine.
pretty good job, I gotta say. But moving back to the enemy turn here. Before we resolve the polar bear, the lady who you can now see in front of you, Gerdian, she looks at you and she hisses. And she casts a spell quickly. And you feel the air above you get very cold. And all of a sudden, a giant block of ice falls atop of you. Let's see, a 20-foot radius. I don't think it would be fair to have it stretch outside of the cave here into the rest of you guys. So I'm just going to drop it on Gurdian. But the resulting here, let me draw it out, is going to make all of this terrain here difficult.
Deck save?
Yes, sir. A deck save, please.
I have advantage on deck saves as long as I can see it. So
Yeah, I'd say you probably hear it and see it. Yeah, that sounds right.
$14.
Let me find this person's spellcasting. That just barely does not make it.
Okay. Does it do damage?
It does. Hang on, let me roll this.
Inspiration to, I don't know, reroll.
Yeah, that's the damage. 27 is what you'll take total. If
Can I
you
use
don't, if you want to
inspiration?
use inspiration to roll again, you certainly can.
Yay. So would that still give me advantage then to reroll?
You just do another roll, a single roll. You don't have advantage on this new one.
Oh, jeez.
So the breakdown is, let's see, it's 14 bludgeoning damage and 13 cold damage. So I think the bludgeoning damage you
That's
take half, so
a
that's 7,
lot.
so 20 total.
Yeah, I'm down to 5 health.
You're fine. Just a scratch.
What move was that?
That was Ice Storm, the spell. I think that moves us on to the polar bear here, attacking you, Virion. Polar bear lunges at you with its bite. That was a 22.
Yep, that'll make contact.
That's 9 damage.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
And then he comes at you with his claws. How's an 11?
That will not hit.
Okay, and he misses. Which moves us on to Wargar. Wargar, you kind of raise up just in time to see the moose fall over dead, Gurdian run past you, and a huge block of ice just land on Gurdian's head.
Yeah. I'm on the ground because I was temporarily dead. I will stand up. I will use half of my movement to do that. 5, 10, 15.
And the green
think if I
boxes,
go
the green boxes are
here-
difficult terrain. That's what they are.
okay. If I go here, does a 15-foot cone hit the polar bear?
It does. Yeah, if you like angle it away from Virion, imagine you don't want to hit him. You can get the polar bear.
No.
And
Yeah.
to
So
his
I
right,
will
yeah.
I will rush towards the polar bear, and I will use my dragon's breath, my silver dragon's breath, which is 2d6 cold damage, half on a save. Actually, I could just click this. I don't
Probably
say
a deck
anything.
save, right? Or con save, okay.
Con save.
Let's see, did a 10?
It rolled a 10, so it failed.
So he takes your full damage, the full 8.
Mm-hmm. And that's my action. That's my movement. I only have one more spell slot, so I'm not using that right now. That's it for my turn.
And the polar bear was focused on Virion, but your blasts of cold against it, it turns its attention on you, Rorgar, and it also seems a little more frantic seeing another opponent enter the battle.
Excellent.
But moving to you, Elijah.
Okay, I am going to move up into the entrance of the cave and take out my holy symbol for a moment and use my channel divinity, Radiance of the Dawn, on the druid over here. I can't reach both of them, unfortunately. It's very sad. I kept trying to do the math, it doesn't work.
Is her save just your spell DC or Constitution? There we go.
Yeah. Against 13, it's not that high.
A con? That's probably all right.
She does roll a 7, so
Ooh.
Hell yeah.
she. Oh, a 19. Very solid.
Oh.
That's big.
And that's what I can do for now. So, end of
Wait,
my
are you level 3?
No,
Oh, it's two.
Okay, perfect.
So the bright
I'm
light.
like, no, this is level 2, starting at second level.
Okay.
Do you have a bonus action to heal?
No.
Oh,
The bright light shines in this person's face, and they screech and actually run away up or down the stairs with their hand over their eyes as you've blinded them. But they have retreated a bit. Actually, no, I'll wait to do that in their action. That's out of their turn. I'm sorry, that's not right. They are a little blinded from your attack, but that does move us on to Guardian. I didn't want to take away from Guardian's turn.
1, 2. So where does the difficult terrain end? Is it just a
It's
green?
it's the green square, so this is not difficult.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 6. Since I'm still raging, reckless maul attack.
Okay.
Wow. 18?
18 will work.
11.
So she's blinded,
Nice.
Guardian. You wind up a hit and strike her on the side of her body. It's a heavy hit. She's still standing.
Oh, that's just a mean thing to do. She's blinded, so that's double advantage.
But that takes us back to Virion. Oh wait, no.
Uh,
Yeah, Virion, it's
oh.
your turn. Yeah, sorry.
No worries. Same thing. Keep swinging away with my short sword.
That'll do.
Perfect. 6 and another D6. Ooh,
Whoa.
12 damage.
And the polar bear goes down dead, and as it crumbles to the ground, it vanishes as the magic that was creating it has been released.
This may have been some type of poltergeist, Rorgar.
What the I'm so confused.
And Virion will, I guess, use his movement to 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, get to where Laja is as well.
That moves us on to Ravison, who has just been injured and blinded. She is going to make a disengage action and run. Let's see how far she can make it.
Good choice on words there, GM.
She runs down the stairs off the corner into another room that you guys can't really see into yet. Virion, as you've made your way to this location next to Laja, you hear a humming sound coming from this direction. It sounds kind of like a tuning fork.
Does anyone else hear that loud noise?
Unfortunately.
I hear nothing. I believe blood is blocking my ear canal.
I believe
Yeah.
it is the sound of the weak and feeble about to die.
Either that or a major case of tinnitus.
I will come up to here. And I will use my action to use lay on hands to give Irian 4 points of healing.
Oh,
Not a lot, but something.
it's an honest heal. Thank
And I'm
you.
holding on. I got my 1 extra point left in case I need to revive somebody. And then I will use the rest of my movement to I'll come into the area here. And I will that's where I'll end my turn.
Okay. And that takes us to Laja.
I'm going to, if I can avoid where the ice is, I'm going to try to avoid it and follow towards the direction that the druid went.
Okay. Did you want to take an action?
A healing action? I think you're on the spell select, aren't you?
No, I did not. Got 3, baby.
Ooh.
They're gone. No, but I will move past Guardian and move forward more. See if
Okay.
can start catching up, maybe.
You can sort of see around the curve here, I think, and you can see the person, Revison, has just made her way into a rounded room. She's pushed through a door. I think that's probably as much as you can see at this point.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Is the door closed or is that?
It's
still
open. She was running through it, knocked the door open, didn't close it behind her.
Okay, cool.
She was too busy being very worried for her life.
Why?
Rightfully so.
It's a short life.
It takes us to you, Guardian.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just gonna swing at her recklessly.
Okay. 24 will certainly hit.
Oh.
Not enough to
love
take
the
her
fact-
down, but she is definitely looking a little injured. She does not look well.
Guardian's gonna say something to her.
Okay. What does he say?
By your hands, you're gonna destroy the 10 towns. By my judgment, I'm gonna destroy you.
And after that sick burn, that takes us back to Virian. Virian, you still hear that buzzing over in this direction, the humming sound.
Virian's gonna walk through here, and as he gets closer, is the noise getting louder?
As you get closer to this area, yeah, it is louder. Yeah.
All right. Virian can't resist the mysteries of the noise and is going to get sidetracked and use his movement to head towards that noise. 15, 20, 25, 30. So I guess puts him somewhere around there.
Oh, let me open this 1 second. The map has a
Another
door.
polar bear.
The map has a door, and we don't want that door. In the room before you, Virian, you see a sarcophagus, and the lid is cracked. To answer your probably next question, no, there is nothing terrible rising out of it, but the sound is definitely coming from inside of it.
Okay, perfect. And yeah, that'll be the turn for Virian.
Okay. And that moves us back to Miss Ravison. And Miss Ravison turns to you, Guardian. And she quickly casts a spell.
She has
Is it a
disadvantage.
healing spell?
It is not a healing spell. Let's see. It's a 20-foot
Oh.
tall cylinder of rain and sleet fall upon you, Guardian. What's that?
Question: is the sight based off her vision? Because I don't think she can do anything.
She wasn't. I
Um,
don't think she was necessarily blinded, but it doesn't have anything about targeting. So
Oh, sorry. When you said blind, I thought she was actually blinded with the condition.
no, I think she was like blinded, like but not the actual condition.
Ah, okay.
Actually, strike that. She's gonna do a moonbeam on you, Guardian. So
Moonbeam.
5-foot radius, so it's just you. A light of silvery pale light shines down upon you. If you can take a Constitution save for me, please.
Sure. Nope. Just normal. Yep.
That'll do. Let's see. You would take half. So you'll take 4 radiant damage.
Oh,
Wow.
It's a good thing you saved with your 1 hit point. But that's Ravison. Taking us back to you, Rogar.
I don't have much to offer in this this encounter at the moment. I guess I will just charge down the hallway. And Laja, excuse me, I must pass. And that's it. I'm action to move, movement to move. I guess. No, that's it. That's all I can do.
Okay. So it's to you, Lasha.
Thinking for a moment, we're all just like hallway. If I were to move forward, could I see her?
Yeah, I think you can see her around, Guardian.
Okay, in which case I'm going to attempt to use Sacred Flame on her.
He rolls a 19.
Ooh.
It does nothing. That's okay. I'm not mad.
It takes us to you, Guardian, with your 1 hit point.
So I'm gonna go in at the room. Where is she?
You're standing on her.
Oh. Yeah. Okay. I'm just gonna recklessly attack her again.
Okay. 23 will certainly hit.
9.
So as you hit her, she kind of rebounds, but she still holds her feet and is not driven back by your attack. If you wanted to, you could move past her to go into the room. You know, of course, if you go too far past, she's going to get that attack of opportunity, but you could move into like one of...
Yeah, I'll move here.
Squares, yeah. You can move diagonal. That takes us to Virion. Like ahead of you is this sarcophagus. You hear the hum very clearly. The sarcophagus is cracked. Like I said, nothing evil is coming out of it, but that's definitely where the sound is coming from.
Very cautiously and stealthily, Virion's going to approach the sarcophagus with his short sword kind of drawn and peek in and see what's up over here.
Peeking into the sarcophagus, you see very clearly the source of the sound is a long sword. It is grayish. What you notice immediately from it is it looks very old. There's a gem that's inlaid into the sword just below the blade, and you can read in plain Elvish. It says on the handguard the words, I am Era, the Flame of Saloon.
Oh God. Is this cursed? How do I figure that out? I guess I'm gonna. What do I have that I can wrap this in? So if it is cursed, it doesn't bind to me and turn me into some kind of zombie.
Virian, if you can give me, let me look at your character sheet one sec. There's a role that might help you here. Maybe a history check.
Okay.
I like how Virian's doing archaeology while everyone else is fighting.
They've got this.
You notice the gem that's inlaid, in the sword is a moonstone, and immediately you recognize what this says. This is a moonblade. Moonblades
Oh.
are ancestral elvish swords that are passed on through a lineage. They're sort of like ancestral weapons that belong to a bloodline. To find one laying in a sarcophagus like this is virtually unheard of. This would be a great treasure to any Elven family, in the particular Elven family that might have owned this originally. This would be almost like a priceless gift for them.
Is there anything, like, just kind of inspecting it without picking it up? Is there anything that I notice, like on the hilt or along the blade, or anything that might give an indication of like what family or what group of elves it might? Oh, I guess the moon elves would
Yeah,
make a lot of sense considering the statues and everything.
inlaid on the hilt is a symbol of Saloon, the moon goddess. It's like a star. It's one of her emblems. Also, as a moonblade, it was most likely made by moon elves. That's mostly the owners of moonblades were moon elves, and this is also like a temple to Saloon. So it's a Saloon. So this is a perfect place for the sword to be. It makes a lot of sense that maybe a moon elf. It's possible a moon elf might be buried with a sword like this if their line had ended, but to be in a sarcophagus by itself is very unusual. Like I said, this would be a treasure to that family and almost priceless.
All right. I'm going to just to be 100% safe. I have some fine clothes. I'm going to wrap the blade in and just carry it out of the sarcophagus with me.
Okay. When you pick it up, the humming stops.
And I don't die or turn into a moon person.
No, you
I
don't.
think you broke it.
None of those things.
Okay, and then I'll use the I guess the rest of my movement to I think that was about it to get in and out of there.
That takes us back to our friend here. She is going to use. Let's see.
She's going to see the areas of array and surrender.
She's going to use her action to move the moonbeam back on you, Guardian. So you are going to need to make a Constitution save for me, please. Again.
Who wants to give me an inspiration?
I do.
Absolutely.
Woohoo!
Wait, it's gonna do damage to you no matter what, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is. Ah.
Never mind.
Oh wow, I'm so sorry.
Oh no.
I'm so sorry.
Woo! I'm all
So
for
that
dead.
that is a fail. So you take the full 20 damage.
Don't worry. I saved 1 point of lay on hands for this very occasion.
It's 20 radiant.
I too have a healing word.
You have a single
Well,
healing
I'm
word.
so glad you've
Or
been
cure
off exploring.
And with you down, Guardian, she's going to retreat back into the room a little further.
Half orc reaction. I'm just kidding. Back to 1 HP now.
Which takes us to Rorgar.
Okay. Rorgar will run over to here. Making note of the down Guardian. That is a interesting. Well, whatever. And I'll go and attack the druid. Oh.
That unfortunately is a miss.
And that'll
Virion,
be
you
it.
do have 2 inspiration that you're hoarding there.
Oh yeah. Rorgar, please.
I'll try again. Much better.
That'll work, yeah.
And as the blade makes contact with this druid, the blade sparks with bright, radiant energy as I use Divine Smite. So I do my normal damage, which is 11, and then I add 2d8 radiant damage.
Wow.
Wow. Paladins, man. Your hit, let's flavor this really nicely, like hits her solidly in the chest. She lets out a scream and she falls over dead. The echo from the blow, the sound of that final hit still resonates through this little chamber, Rorgar, but yeah, she falls motionless to the ground and she is no more.
And then I will just casually walk over to Gurdian and with one finger, boop, give him the 1 hit point he needs to get back up.
And with that, that ends our initiative combat here, and we are back to normal.
Friend, you did most of the work. I just finished the job.
Hmm.
It was, as they say on the basketball court, a layup.
What is a basketball court?
It is a game that they've just started playing in Neverwinter. You take a peach basket and you cut the bottom out. And you're not allowed to let the ball hit the ground. You have to bounce it between your hands.
While they discuss the mechanics of fantasy basketball, I want to look around and see what I can find in this room, please.
So this is obviously where this person, Ravison, was living. You see a lot of artifacts from her life there. So she's got like a herbalism kit. She's got a diary there that she's keeping, or just some notes on, like some parchment. Her parchment just outlines her plan to get revenge on the 10 towns, which killed her sister at some point. In one of the 10 towns, something happened. But she talks about how she's been awakening lots of creatures, not only in Lonelywood, but across the 10 towns area, and trying to sick them on the inhabitants of the 10 towns. One of which she said she awakened the monster in the lake. That's one of her one of the things that she's done, and she might be responsible for many of the other awakened creatures that you found. But she definitely made the killer moose here. She awakened it and set it on the people of Lonelywood. But apart from that, let's see. You find a potion of radiant resistance, which is too bad she didn't drink that, because that would have helped her a lot. And a potion of vitality. The potion of vitality, if you use it, just gives you the maximum number of hit points for any hit dice you spend when you take a rest, and cures disease and poison. So it's a good thing to keep around.
Can already do that. You guys don't need it.
Of course, you guys also have this sword that Virion has picked up.
Oh yeah, Virion will casually saunter, because he never saw Ravison. He just saw everyone running up the stairs, so he still has no clue that any of this has taken place. So he'll walk over and he's like, "What were you guys doing over here?"
I want to do something as he says that. As he walks in the room, I'm pulling off her head.
Jesus.
Oh God.
It's pretty dark, Guardian.
Well,
we need proof for the town, and I don't want to carry a body.
I think that
I'm bringing the paperwork.
I think the goal was the moose, but I mean, the head of this person, maybe we'll say that works too.
You wanted a moose? We did you one better. Here's some woman we found.
Oh no, we're also taking the moose head back too. It's just this might be extra gold.
Got it.
Well, that's a cool head. I found this sick sword. So
that would have been handy to use to remove her head.
You seem to do okay with it.
Kind of realizing what's just happened, and taking it in. I think Rorgar says a quick, quiet prayer for this disturbed individual, hoping they find peace. But
Virion leans in to hear what the word Rorgar says is.
this time it's in Draconic.
So clever.
That's because he's actually saying a prayer.